Hello, I'm Seerath, and today I'm here to discuss custom event listeners. So we will see that how can we create our own custom event listeners, like what is the script that we need to write, and how can we test that whether it is working or not. In Google Tag Manager, many events are recorded by default. But what if we want to track an event that is not recorded by default? For that purpose, we have custom event listeners. So first of all, let us go to preview and see the form on which we will try to apply our custom event listener, right? So let's go to our website. Yeah. So in the contact us page, we have this small form, right? And today we will try to create our custom event listener for this. Like we have a name and an email, and then we have a submit. So first of all, let's go to Google Tag Manager, and inside the tags, I have created this form handler tag. So what we want to do, what is our aim here is that, let's minimize this. Yeah. So the aim here is that if the cursor clicks it, like if the input is active, then it should be recorded in the tag assistant. If we are typing something, then it should also be recorded in the tag assistant. And if we click out, like the input field is blurred now, then all these activities, the active, the change, and the blur, all of these should be recorded in the tag assistant. So for that, let's go and take the selector, right? So let's click inspect. Let's take the selector for email. Yeah. So if we right click here and we click copy and we copy JS path. So now if we go to Google Tag Manager, inside the tag that I have created, click here and I just simply show what is copied to the clipboard. So this has given us document.query selector, and inside it is the ID. So we can simply copy it. Let's see it once again. Like if this is the tag, right click, copy, and copy JS path, right? So here I have written a short script. So first of all, the tag is of custom HTML, right? So let's see that what is happening in this script. First of all, this is a self-invoking function, right? And once we enter the script, the function, we have var input, and we are storing the value from document dot query selector hashtag email. So basically this is the ID, right? And then if we scroll down, we are adding 3 event listeners. So first of all, first one is saying input dot. So input is this variable that we are using to refer to this element right here, right? So input dot add event listener. So basically this adds the event listener for the event of focus. And when the input comes in focus, it is telling that, okay, call input callback. So it is instructing that when this particular input is in focus, then this function should be called. And the third parameter is true. So this is for capturing, right? So if we go and observe this input callback function, so we are basically pushing a value in the data layer, window dot data layer dot push, and we are saying that event is custom form. Event type is basically we catch the event that was happening and we just specified event dot type, and event target is also event dot target. So this will be updated according to the event that is happening, right? Next, we have added another listener, input dot add event listener, and it is for blur. It is also calling the same function, input callback, and true value is for capturing. Then the third one is input dot add event listener, and this one is for change. Now, this is also calling the same function. Now, what basically we have done here, we created a variable for this element, the reference to this element. Then we have added three listeners, and we have also created a function here so that it pushed the value into the data. Now, let us go and see in the preview mode that whether it is working or not, right? Okay, so we click preview again. Let's click continue. And here, let's close the inspect for a minute. Let's go to the contact. So we copied the selector for email field, right? Let's minimize this. Yeah. So let's see what happens if we, like right now in tag assistant, we do not have any event, right? For our input tag. So if I click here and I go back, I see that I have custom form. Now this was what I created here. Just a second. If I scroll down, then I see that this was the event name that I gave custom form, right? Now, if I click here, I can see that this is getting fired each time I click on the input and I click out of the input. So we know that the event listeners that we added here, which were focus and blur, they both are working. Because if we go and check the data layer, we will see that event name is this custom form, event type is focus, and event target is this particular element, right? And we have another event here which is also custom form, but inside it the event type is blur. So alternatively they are getting fired because when we click on this, so it is focused, and if we click out, then it is blurred. Now let's change something here. Let's input a value, a@gmail, right? Let's go back and we click custom form again, and yeah, this one. So this one is showing that change because we changed the value here, and it is also specifying the event target. So now we know that all the event listeners that we added, focus, blur, and change, they are working, right? Now, what if we want to track the submit, right? What will we do? We can simply go to Google Tag Manager. Let's uncomment some of this code right here. And don't want this. We will see this later. Yeah. Okay. So now we have created another variable which is var form. So now we are using the query selector for form. We have taken this from here. Like if I come here and I click inspect, and in the elements, if I scroll down, I have this form, right? If I right click and copy the JS path, then this query selector will be what we'll have in our clipboard. Like if I control V, so this is a query selector, right? So I have created this variable and it is referring to this element. And here, if I scroll down, I have said that form.event add event listener. So basically, I'm telling Google Tag Manager to add an event listener and listen for submit event. And if the submit event occurs, then I want to call submit callback. So this is a function that I have created here. This is pretty similar to our input callback, right? And for now, let's just comment this particular one out. Yeah, so this is very similar to the input callback, and it is also doing the window dot data layer dot push, and specifying the event type and event target, right? So let's click save. Let's click preview again. It will load up in a minute. Let's just open it again. Right, let's click connect again. Yeah, so it's connected now. Let's go to our form, inspect. In the form, we want to track the submit now, right? So we want to say that, okay, when the submit is clicked, then we want an event to be displayed in the tag assistant that the submit was activated. So first, let's just go back and let's just check that whether our previous input things are working or not. So if I click here, go to tag assistant, custom form is fired 2 times because we clicked and we clicked out. Now let's just fill it, a@email.com, and right now let's click submit. Let's go here and scroll down. Yeah, we have custom forms here, which is showing us in the data layer that the event type is submit and the event target was this, right? So we have successfully tracked the active input, the blur input, the change in the input, and even when the form is submitted. Now, what if a user comes to the website and, instead of submitting the form, the user just navigates to another page. So the user just abandoned the form. What do we want to do in that case, right? We want to record an abandonment. Okay. So let's go to Google Tag Manager and see how can we do that. We first click form handler, and inside the custom HTML, let's just add another event listener for window. And here we are saying that window dot add event listener. And we are saying that before unload, before the user is navigating to another page and abandoning the uh, form, we are calling a function abandon callback, right? And if we uncomment this here, so this is our function, which is saying that we should push into the data layer the event type as abandonment, event target as event dot target, right? So let's click save here. Click preview. Okay, it's connected now. Let's go to our website and let's go to the contact us. Let's enter the name. Let's enter the email. Okay, but instead of clicking the submit, let's click out. Let's go to home. So this is a perfect case for abandonment, and it should record that. If we click here, custom form, and we see in the data layer, we will see that event type abandonment was recorded. So we have successfully recorded that is the user actually submitting the form or just leaving the form by halfway filling it, right? Now, one more thing to see here is that if the user submit the form still, because we have not applied any we are not removing the listener, so it will still call it as an abandonment. Let's see. Just a second, let's get inspect first. And we are using this form right here, right? Okay, so now let's go and test this. Click the name, we add the email, click submit. Now, even if we clicked the submit, still the abandonment was recorded. Why is that? Because if we go to our Google Tag Manager, we have not removed the listener as of now. So what can we do? We can basically uncomment this code, which is doing that window dot remove event listener. So when it is reaching the submit callback, when the submit has successfully occurred, then it is saying that remove the event listener before unload, because then we do not want it to be counted as an abandonment, right? So let's save this and let's go to preview. Now, if we will submit our form, then it will not count it as abandonment, right? So this is how we can create our own custom event. Apart from these, we have other browser events such as load, when the website is completely loaded. Then we have before unload, just before loading, we used it, right? Then we have focus, blur, change, which we use for the input. Then we have submit, which we use for the form. We have resize, which if we change the size of the window. Then we have scroll, if we scroll up and down. Then we have key down, click, mouse down, and all these things which we can use, correct? So what we did basically was that we took a form and then we tracked that focus, blur, change, and the submit events that were not tracked by Google Tag Manager automatically. So this is how we can create our own custom event listeners. We can simply go to Google Tag Manager, create our own tag, write some custom code, right? First, add the event listener and then the relevant callback function. One more thing that we can do, as this code is being called repetitively, right? This function is being called repetitively. We can take a part of it like this much, and what we can do, we can go to the variables, and if I scroll down, I have created a variable. Yeah, so basically, this is a custom JavaScript variable which is just returning this function. So as we have created this, this is just doing the same thing, that it is telling the event type as event.type and event target as event.target. Now we can go back to our tags, and here inside form handler, we can use that variable, right? So yeah, this is how we can create our own custom event listeners in Google Tag Manager. Thank you.